As the new year begins and cold weather sets in, make sure your home stays warm and reliable with an incredible deal from Premier Heating and Air. Get $500 instant rebate on a standard efficiency unit, $1,000 on a higher efficiency model, and $1,500 instant rebate on the highest efficiency models. Get a heat system checkup for only $49. So don't drop the ball on your heating and air system. Experience a Premier difference today. Log on to dublin.premierishere.com or call 478-300-2633. Restrictions may apply, cannot be combined with other offers, and this expires 1/31/2026. Premier Heating and Air, a locally owned and operated company.
All right, Club. Well, it is an honor to be here today to introduce our guest speaker, and I thought it was funny how the email that Lehman kept sending out didn't have the guest speaker. It kept having my name instead. And I was like, I think everybody thinks I'm about to try to sell them a car during the presentation, but not today. But before I get into it, introducing Dr. Alan Meglin and Robin Meglin, AKA my mom. Before I get into introducing them, I do want to first give a personal recommendation. I can tell you that I've been a patient and treated by these folks, by Dr. Allen and my mom for years now. And I can tell you that I didn't start seeing them and getting help because I was sick or something was wrong. You know, it was because I believed in Dr. Allen, and I had learned about the things. He would send me articles and he would tell me about different stuff that he was working on, things that he had available at his clinic. And it wouldn't take me long to read up on it to say, man, that might would actually be good. And I had the benefit of knowing Alan personally and knowing the man he was and knowing how intelligent he was and what a wonderful physician he was. And if he told me something, I knew it was 100% vetted. It was going to really make a difference. And I can tell you with full confidence that if the things that this man tells you today, if they sound like something that may be a benefit to you, and I would dare say that even if it didn't sound like it would be, that it's worth talking to him. He would say somebody else that may be in that field, but I can tell you, I would put Dr. Allen up against anybody in that field anywhere. So please listen carefully to not just the bio speaks for itself, but don't just listen to that. Pay very close attention to this man, because I can tell you from personal experience, he improved my life, my quality of life, and he can do that for y'all too. So please do pay attention. So Dr. Alan Meglin and his wife, Robin Meglin, she's an RN. They own and operate a functional and regenerative medical practice in Savannah, Georgia called Advanced Regenerative Therapy, or ART for short. Dr. Allen received his MD from the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine. He did a surgical internship at Walter Reed, followed by radiology residency at Walter Reed and fellowship in international radiology at the Johns Hopkins Hospital. He was faculty at Johns Hopkins, Walter Reed, UHSUS, and Bethesda Naval Hospital. He did many fellowships at the Mass General Hospital, Stanford, Penn, Cornell, Columbia, and Duke. He then trained in regenerative medicine with coursework from the Mayo, the Regenerative Medicine Training Institute, A4M, the IHA, IBUM, and International ATMO. He trained in obesity medicine at Columbia and Cornell. Dr. Meglin is board certified in general radiology, interventional radiology, regenerative medicine, and obesity medicine. He is an invited speaker at A4M, IHA, National Biohacking, and Western Foot. He has done podcasts with Dave Asprey and with Masa Makiva, MD. He writes for several publications and several peer-reviewed publications. He's authored several book chapters and has written and edited a book on interventional radiology. This is pretty neat. ART is welcoming medical tourists and patients from all over the USA, Canada, Europe, and as far away as Dubai. They offer training to other physicians and participate in research trials. They treat many professional athletes, myself included. But they do have many professional athletes from the Savannah Ghost Pirates, Jacksonville Icemen, and he's also got a reputation of being a doctor's doctor, being that the high percentage of his patients are actually physicians. So speaking to my endorsement, if you got doctors that have done their own research going to this guy to make their life better, I think that's saying something. Art believes a comprehensive approach offers the best results. They work in conjunction with physical therapists, trainers, surgeons, medical doctors, chiropractors, spiritual healers, acupuncturists, naturopathic physicians, research doctors, and pharmacists. They offer hyperbaric chambers, therapy red light, PEMF, peptides, hormone optimization, nutraceuticals, and treatments with biologics. They perform gut testing, genetic and epigenetic testing, as well as routine and non-routine blood work. They specialize in brain optimization, body composition, and metabolic aberrations, and complex medical disease. They use ultrasound guidance to perform focal interventions with a high interest in joint and mobility problems. And in closing, I just wanted to mention that I'm personally very grateful for all that they've done to help me be a healthier person overall. And I can assure you that if you have interest, whether you ask questions at the end of the thing today or reach out to them personally in confidence, they'll make you feel better too, and you'll be glad you did. So come on up, Dr. Alan Meglin. Y'all please help me welcome.
So I'm not nearly as impressive as any of that stuff sounds. I'm just going to tell you that up front. We can fix a lot of stuff that conventional medicine doctors are telling you can't be fixed. And I'll explain why that is in a second. But everybody should know up front that we can't fix ugly, because if we could, would Timothy and I look like this? So I'm just going to start with a couple of things.
I take back everything I said.
So I've tried, Timothy. I've tried. Anyhow, I'd prefer, if it's okay with you, I give talks all around the country, and mostly to doctors, teaching doctors, but this is my favorite kind of audience. And what I like to do with this kind of an audience is just give you a couple of introductory principles so that you can understand what my field is, and then just invite questions. I'd much prefer to have kind of a Q&A, but I need to give you a pretext for what we do so that you understand what we're about, okay? We're going to start with this. All of you are familiar with Medicine 2.0. That's insurance-based medicine. Insurance-based medicine works like this. You're ill, you come to me. Do you want me to use the mic or just speak louder? If you can't hear me, you definitely need to come see me, because I can fix that hearing loss. Okay, better? Okay, so Medicine 2.0 is what you guys are all very much used to. Medicine 2.0 involves you being ill, me giving you a pill, followed by getting a bill. So the whole paradigm for Medicine 2.0 is you must be sick first. You must have a codable diagnosis with a codable treatment plan submitted to insurance so that I can get reimbursed. And if it doesn't follow that pattern, I'm not going to do it. That's how Medicine 2.0 works. That's not what we do. We do Medicine 3.0, in which case what we want you to do is to be optimal, not sick. Medicine 2.0 says, oh, if you're going to come and see me, you just need to be sick. They define wellness as I'm not sick. That's different from optimal, okay? We want you to be optimized. And how do you know if you're optimized? From 17 to 27, you are at your reproductive capacity peak. That's when you're supposed to be having children. And we are designed to be at our peak at the time that we're supposed to be having children. From 27 on, we are all dying slowly. And you can control the rate at which you're dying. A lot of stuff that people accept as, well, that's just normal aging, is not, it is elective. It's not inevitable. Your DNA is not your destiny. Just because you're 55, that doesn't mean you can't feel like you're 35. So I use 4 basic questions, and I'm going to ask you guys to think about this on your own. And if you want, we'll talk about it after this conference. I want you to think about 4 questions. The first question is, what is my sense of well-being? And if my sense of well-being is not super high, you are not optimal. And I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. When you were 18, you didn't know what your life was going to be, but you knew it was going to be okay. You didn't have to worry about tomorrow. So you might be somebody who says, I'm going to grow up, I'm going to get married, I'm going to have children, and life will be fine. You didn't have to have a plan. You just kind of knew, I need to get through today, and tomorrow will take care of itself. Right? That's a sense of well-being. Now, and I'm going to look right at you, Robin, before we go from here to here, we have to have a plan. We need to know what time we're leaving. We need to know what time we're going to get there. We need to know what we're going to do when we're there. Versus just saying, it's going to be fine. We're going to leave when we leave, and we're going to get there, and it's going to be fine. That's how you behaved when you were 18. You don't behave that way now, and that's because you're not metabolically optimized. Okay, so your sense of well-being, if you're metabolically optimized, is very high. The next thing is, what's your energy level? Most folks now, in this room at least, go through their job, they leave it all on the field. When they're done at 5, they're kind of tired. It's eat dinner, watch TV, go to bed. Or if you have young children, eat dinner, help with homework, go to bed. Whatever it is, you're not interested, your energy level isn't interested in, oh, I'm going to take on a new hobby. Now that it's 8 o'clock at night, I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to get my MBA. That's the kind of stuff you did when you were 18. I'm looking at you, you were clearly a party animal. You didn't even start going out till 9 o'clock at night. You weren't even getting ready till 8:30. Forget about now. 7:30 is my bedtime, right? So what's your energy level? And when you were in your peak, your reproductive capacity peak, 17 to 27, when you were there, you had the energy to do stuff like, I think I'm going to double major in these 2 women, and also go to school and play sports. So then you had ambition that you just don't have now, and you had energy. The next question I like to ask is cognitive clock speed. And by that I mean, how quickly can you get to something? So you went to dinner last night. Okay. The bill was $117, and you wanted to give the person a 17% tip. So your response was, I'm going to take out my phone, it goes 0.17, blah, 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 blah. Versus when you were 17 to 27, you said, oh, that's easy, that's $14.43. And you paid them. So you get there, you get to that number, but your cognitive clock speed is not quite as fast. Another way of saying it is, I came into this room for something. What the hell was this? I knew I came here for something. Well, I don't know, I'll figure it out later. By the way, where are my keys? Have you seen my keys, and where's the remote control? Anybody know where the remote control is? Oh, these are my underwear from yesterday. You know, all of those cognitive clock speed things, okay? So what's your cognitive clock speed? What's your energy level? What is your sense of well-being? And the last thing that I like to use as a great metabolic integrator is, what is your libido? And so you, back to the party animal, 17 to 27, you were interested in sex every minute of every day, all the time, versus now. And sex is something that people don't like to talk about, and I don't know why, because it's a great metabolic indicator. People say, well, I'm 50, so I'm interested in sex maybe once a week or whatever. So, and I'll tell you that we have in our practice 70-year-olds that are having sex 3 times a week because they're metabolically optimized. And I'll tell you very briefly why I use libido. Libido is driven by hormones, and these hormones decline at the rate of 2% per year after age 27. So on TV, they talk all the time about erectile dysfunction, and that's not right. That's just normal erectile aging. It's not erectile dysfunction. Women go through the exact same process of ovarian failure, and we don't call it ovarian failure, we call it menopause. Everybody just knows that your reproductive capacity is going to start dying after about age 27, and at some point your ovaries give up the ghost, and they're done. Same exact thing happens to men. It's called andropause. 2% per year after age 27 decline in testosterone. Why do I mention that one? Well, testosterone is largely one of the drivers for how quickly this slow dying slope goes down. Another one is growth hormone. And if you know that, you can treat people with, in effect, growth hormone and testosterone and reverse this downward slope. Nobody wants to live to 100 if they feel like they're 150. Everybody wants to live to 100 if they feel like they're 30. And what we do in our practice is literally reverse your biologic age. So we have a lot of DNA testing, and we can find out how old you are. I keep picking on you, I'm going to pick on somebody else. We can find out how old you are by looking at your DNA, and your DNA will tell us, oh, you're 33. And if your chronological age is greater than your biologic age, your risk of death goes down. So as an example, I'm 67 chronologically, but I'm 55 biologically. And so my risk of death, cancer, stroke, heart attack, dementia, has decreased by 57.5%. So if we can create that mismatch of at least 7 years between your chronologic age and your biologic age, your risk of death goes way down, as does your risk of all those other things associated with dying slowly. And we literally can reverse it, and we do. When Robin had real bad COVID, she was going to die. Her biologic age went to something like 77, right? 77. We tested her DNA, she was 77. Her body thought that she's 77. Since an average American female lives to 77, she was going to die. And we treated her, and it came back down to like 60-something. I can't remember what it was most recently, like 62. So you can reverse your biologic age. Aging is not a one-way street. If you want to age faster, you can do that. Smoke, drink too much alcohol, gain too much weight, stop exercising, have a lot of stress. You can determine the rate at which you age with your behaviors. Okay, so that's kind of the baseline stuff I wanted you guys to know. I know I just want to ask questions. You've probably not been exposed to a doctor who talks about this kind of stuff. Is that right? Yeah. When you come to visit us, we have a 3 to 4 hour consult with you. It's not 15 minutes, see the PA, next. That's not what we do. We spend 3 to 4 hours with you. We teach and we coach and we find out what's going on and then we help you. So, does anybody have questions now? I scared everybody. Okay, I'm gonna go through our practice then, if I may.
You just told me I'm a goner already.
You just don't know it. Who said that? You just don't know it. You've already gone. Now the question is, where did you wind up? Is this heaven or is this hell? No, the average American male lives to 76. So we can test your DNA and find out where you are. How old are you now?
I'm 74, almost 75.
You're not a goner. You got a couple of years
That's right.
on average. And by the way, the big difference between our kind of medicine and medicine 2.0 that I was talking about before, they'll look at your labs and they'll say, oh, you're normal. Whether you realize it or not, normal is another word for average. I don't want anybody to be average. I want you to be way above average. I treat a lot of professional athletes and not one of them is normal. So you'll go to your regular doctor and they'll say, no, you don't need this, your labs are normal. But I'm not optimized. Well, how do you know you're not optimized? I'm tired at 6 o'clock. My brain is not sharp the way that it used to be. What became very popular during COVID is that people started to talk about brain fog. That's the next step. But even before you get real brain fog, you're just not as fast mentally. That is absolutely under your control. You can make that go away. So are you tired? Do you have the same amount of ambition? Are you sure that tomorrow's going to be fine without having to know exactly what it is that's going to get you to make sure that tomorrow is fine? Your sense of well-being, your energy level, your libido, your cognitive clock speed. If they're not functioning like you were when you were 17 to 27, you're not metabolically optimized. Now, the happy part of that is that if you become metabolically optimized, that stuff does return. Question?
Do you work with women who had like unexplained infertility issues?
Absolutely. We also work with women who have explained infertility issues. We do. So we treat a lot of stuff. These are the big groups of patients that I have. The biggest group is physicians and their families. The next biggest group is professional athletes. And then the next biggest group is, I've been to Mayo, I've been to Hopkins, I've been to whatever, they can't help me. Can you help me? And the answer is yes, and we can and we do. So we have a fair number of people who have been told at Mayo that they're going to die. They've got a year or two. You know, enjoy your life because you're going to die. And then we treat them, and they don't die. And in fact, they're getting better. So, any other questions? Because I'm going to tell you how we do this in a minute. But is any of this like familiar to you? Have you ever heard a doctor talk this way before? Anyone? You have? Yeah, you have. Yeah, only every day. All right? You want me to get going on this? I'll show you how. So, I'm going to talk to you about healing. Believe it or not, doctors, when they go to medical school, don't learn about healing. They don't really think about healing. They think about disease and how to undo the disease, but they don't really think about healing. So healing, for me, is a 5-step process. And the first thing is you have to stop the injury. So let's say you got burned in a fire. People think that once you're taken out of that fire, their injury is over, but that's not true at all. Even after you've been burned in a fire, your skin and other tissues continue to damage themselves. The injurious process is continuing. It's not as simple as, oh, I got burned. That injury is continuing. So the first thing you have to do to create healing is to stop the injury. An example I give with my hockey players, oh, by the way, Robin and I are team doctors for the Savannah Ghost Pirates, the Atlanta Gladiators, Charlotte Checkers, Lake Tahoe, Night Monsters. There's a total of 9. I can't remember them all right this second, but and we treat professional baseball players and soccer players and all that. Anyhow, the example that I give with hockey players is you've had a concussion, you have to stop having more concussions. Stop the injury. That's step 1. The second thing is you need to remove the dead, dying, damaged, diseased tissues. The third step is you need to replace those dead, dying, damaged, diseased tissues with young and vital tissues. And then the last step is you have to provide all of the cells in this process with energy and information. And the reason that I break it down into these 5 steps is what we do is we treat you at all 5 steps. We stop the injury. We remove the dying, damaged, diseased tissues. We replace it with vital tissues. We provide your body with energy and information to heal. And for guys like me, aging is a chronic wound. Aging is a chronic disease. So for me, with aging, what I do is I stop the aging process, then I remove the damaged tissues, then I replace it with vital tissues, then I place energy and information into your body. And the happy accident in all of that is that you feel great. Questions so far? No? What a polite audience, my goodness. Okay, the quality of your life is largely determined by the quality of your emotions. The quality of your emotions is largely determined by the quality of your relationships. The quality of your relationships is largely determined by your metabolism or biochemistry. And so by attacking things at the biochemical level, your relationships improve, your emotions improve, and the quality of your life improves. I have professional athletes that are coaches now who want to go back to playing professional athletics. I have a professional pickleball player who's like, well, now the club trainer or lead, whatever his title is. I don't even know. He's like the lead instructor. He's the pickleball pro. And he wants to go back to playing, and he's gonna. And I have a hockey player who is a coach for the Atlanta Gladiators, and he wants to go back to playing, and he's going to, because we're reversing these processes. Okay? No questions? I had really hoped for a dialogue. So we are a system of systems. We have a cardiovascular system. We have a genitourinary system. We have a reproductive system. We have a central nervous system. We have a peripheral nervous system. We have an integument system. We have a musculoskeletal system. We are a system of systems. And the thing is that these systems all die at different rates. When people age, the things that they fear most are loss of independence, loss of vision, loss of mobility, and loss of cognitive function. Those are the things that they fear most.
Maybe a question / recommendation is like maybe walk them through an example of like, I know you said it's like a 3 to 4 hour consultation, like kind of maybe pick a generic diagnosis and kind of walk them through an example of a treatment plan or something like that to that effect to kind of give people a little bit of an idea of what exactly might take place right after the consultation, if that's something you think.
Sure. So are you comfortable with me talking about your ED?
Not really. Hey, for what it's worth, there is stuff you take that whether you got a problem or not, but I mean, the optimization stuff is real. I mean, on every aspect. I mean, really. I mean, I can vouch for this. There's this BioPro capsule vial. It's like a little vial, and literally every morning when you first wake up, you just put the vial like under your tongue, 90 seconds, swallow it. That's it. You know, and doing one of those a day. Like I would say that I started off as a major skeptic. You know, it had nothing to do with my respect for Alan. It was just lifetime experience of whatever, help stuff. You know what I mean? Like, okay, this is the next powder or the next, you know, so I started off with a little bit of skepticism. The only reason why I went all in on it is because of my respect for him personally. And so if he pitches it, I still might not be like the first, I might not be patient 0, you know, but I'm totally cool with being patient 2, 3, 4. You know, and as soon as I started doing the vials every day, it's like I forgot that I was, you know, it became a habit, and then all of a sudden I was like, wow, this really has made a huge difference. And like other people in my life would like noticed something was different, more, even before I necessarily was willing to admit it, you know, as far as it making a change. So I will vouch for that. But I would prefer not to speak specifically to this made-up symptom that he has. Yeah.
Tim, I can
I
tell
would
you.
not have invited him if that was what me and him have been talking about. I promise. Yeah.
Timothy, ask Mom. We'll make a man out of you yet.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
No, I didn't mean to disclose any things that may or may not be a problem.
My pride is hurt. That's what.
So, let's talk about something that has affected a lot of lives here. How about cancer? Anybody have anybody close to them or know somebody with cancer and stuff, right? So different from what we learned in med school. We learned in med school that cancer is the result of a mutation and a change in your genetic code so that you inadvertently coded for these abnormal cells. It's not true. That's not what it is. Cancer is an adaptation to abnormal metabolism. And so if you have certain metabolic issues that aren't addressed, those metabolic issues can be taken up by cancer cells and then they become cancers. All of us get cancer 100 times in our lifetime. All of us. We are shedding millions of cancer cells every day. Every single day. Millions. All of us, 100% of us. But we all don't get cancer. What happens with cancer is that one of those abnormal cells takes hold, takes root, and then starts to grow. And that's in response to an underlying metabolic abnormality. If you understand that, why not fix the metabolic abnormalities and therefore not get cancer? So I'm going to give you an example. People have heard of the BRCA gene. Has anybody heard of that? Mammography, breast cancer. So mom had BRCA gene, therefore daughter gets a BRCA gene. BRCA doesn't code for cancer. BRCA codes for a metabolic abnormality on cell restriction. BRCA doesn't mean you will get cancer. BRCA means that you have some cells that don't control cell division normally. And you can, by optimizing, turn that gene off. It's not that hard to do. You just have to turn off the abnormal metabolism. So you can have a BRCA gene and never get cancer. How about Alzheimer's? Anybody exposed to somebody with Alzheimer's disease? Yeah. So here's the deal with Alzheimer's. You'll hear about a gene called APOE4. APOE4 doesn't code for Alzheimer's. It's called the Alzheimer's disease. It doesn't code for Alzheimer's. It codes for an abnormal protein which can lead to Alzheimer's. So where am I going with this? Almost all of our issues can be dealt with by our own bodies if we can get out of our own way and stimulate our metabolism to do the right thing. You can turn on and off genes. And I'm going to skip some of these words and go to pictures. Did somebody have a question? No? I'm going to go right to question. My favorite treatment is something called hyperbaric oxygen. Has anybody heard of that? Yeah. Here's what happens with hyperbaric oxygen. You go into a chamber, and this is our brain chamber. This can accommodate 2 people. This can accommodate a wheelchair. This can accommodate a stretcher. You go into that chamber. We seal it up, and you get oxygen under pressure. And that is a genetic tool. It turns on. We only have about 22,000 genes in our genome. It turns on or off 8,101 genes. And it turns on anti-inflammatory genes. It turns on anti-cancer genes. It turns off inflammatory genes. It turns off aging genes. And so by going to this chamber several times a week for usually an hour, you can turn off all of these genes that kill you and turn on the genes that save you. That's hyperbaric oxygen. It's a genetic manipulator. That's another chamber. We use that one for people who need to go on deep dives. This is like going scuba diving. We read the Bible, and the Bible is replete with miracles that happened near the Dead Sea. People think, anybody been to the Dead Sea here? No? People think that the curative powers of the Dead Sea are related to the high saline level. It has nothing to do with that. That's the lowest place on earth. They are getting very low grade but chronic hyperbaric therapy when they go to the Dead Sea. And some of the miracles in the Bible may very well be related to things like neuropathy, which we reverse with hyperbaric therapy. Okay? I'm a diabetic, and there was a period of our lives in which I turned to Rob. I had really bad peripheral neuropathy. My feet and my hands just hurt all the time. And there was a period of time before we did this stuff that I turned to Robin and said, Robin, if I have to live like this, I'd rather not. I remember distinctly. I was lying on the couch. We were watching ESPN, and my legs were just killing me, and it was unremitting. It was unrelenting. It was just chronic from diabetic neuropathy. Well, I don't have any diabetic neuropathy anymore. I do hyperbarics pretty frequently. It reverses neuropathy by turning on the right genes and turning off the wrong genes. This is another chamber that we have. And Timothy, you have a chamber in your house, right? Yep. We also use red light. A lot of people are starting to hear about red light. Has anybody here heard of red light? Yeah. Red light works in a similar way. Red light, remember I talked about the healing process? Red light imparts energy and information to your cells. That was like number 4 and number 5. People don't think about aging as loss of information, but that's largely what it is. You're losing information in your genetic code, and that results in what sounds to be aging. We take wounds that would take months to heal, and we heal them in just a few days or just a few weeks. You know all those professional athletes that they get an ACL tear, and they're going to be out for 6 months, and then they're back in 6 weeks? That's because they're doing this kind of stuff. I had a guy a couple of months ago, Labor Day, cut his finger completely off. I was going to show pictures of these things, but Timothy suggested that it's a lunch meeting. Not everybody likes to see these kind of doctor pictures. But we had a guy, and if you want, I'll show them to you afterwards. We had a guy who completely cut his finger off. He was on his yacht, and the motor went out, and he started reaching in to try and fix it, and the boat captain turned on the motor, chopped off his finger completely. He was rushed to the ER. Orthopedic surgeon sewed it back on, that said, come back in a few days because we're probably going to wind up just taking it off. And it looked horrible. It looked black. It looked dead. His 2 daughters are medical students, and so they contacted me, and we treated him. Friday, Saturday twice, Sunday twice, Monday twice. Anyhow, we treated him, and his finger is now, it's not completely normal. It looks a little funky, but it's definitely a normal type finger, and he has movement and sensation. And this is a finger he cut off completely. So imagine what we can do to a wound that's not that severe with hyperbarics and red light. We also offer something, this is a pulsed magnetic field bed. We also offer pulsed electromagnetic fields. We can also offer stem cells and exosomes and PRP. Does anybody know what a stem cell is? You probably heard it. That's getting into the literature now.
I was just saying, I don't know if time wise.
Keep going or stop? 3 minutes, okay. Stem cell. Mom and dad came together, fertilized an egg. That one cell goes on to make a whole person and a placenta and an umbilical cord. One cell. That's a stem cell. When we put stem cells into you, they regrow whatever it is that you need. So when I was in med school, we learned that if you had a stroke, that part of the brain was dead. You just had to rewire. Untrue. We can regrow brain. Person has a heart attack with an ejection fraction of 65%. I don't know if you know what that means, but it means that his ejection fraction before he was injured was great. He got this wicked heart attack. His ejection fraction went down to 30%. That means he was very close to need a heart transplant. We treated him, his ejection fraction, now 65% again. We can literally regrow tissues. Can and do. Okay? Anything? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I know you mentioned 2.0, of course, you filed insurance. On 3.0, which of course is your services, most insurance companies...
Nobody covers any of this. This is, insurance companies are not in the business of patient care or wellness. Insurance companies are there to make money. That's what they do. They want to charge you a premium and then pay out less than the collective number of premiums that they've paid. And so they have a lot of stipulations. Well, we're not paying for that. No, we're not going to cover for that. They don't do a great job of covering optimization.
And then the other question, if someone has had a stroke, like you mentioned that, you've had success with stroke victims.
Yep. Plenty. We've had people with dementia who dementia's pretty bad. A lady couldn't use her phone. She didn't know how to answer her iPhone. And we treated her, and about 3 months later, she was texting me saying, Dr. Meglin, my appointment isn't until 10, but my ride comes at 9:30. Is it okay if I get there half an hour early? So she could figure out, she knew my name, she knew who Dr. Meglin was. She could find my phone number, she could work her phone enough to text it, and she had the cognitive function to say, is it going to be okay if I come early because my ride tomorrow? She started with, ma'am, who's this person sitting right here? I don't know. Ma'am, who's this person sitting right here? I don't know. Son, daughter. You can regrow brain. Okay?
You mentioned earlier on eliminating bad cells that are replacing with body cells. I'm assuming that the stem is the replacement of the cells, so what's the elimination?
So we activate your immune system. There's something called apoptosis. And what that means is that every cell in your body has a planned cell death. Red blood cells last 90 days. Platelets last 2 weeks. Neurons can last 200 years. Every single cell in your body has a pre-programmed death. Sometimes that process goes awry, and they're supposed to die, and they don't. They're hanging out being bad neighbors. You know, they haven't repaired the roof, they haven't painted the house, they are not cutting the grass. They're hanging out being bad neighbors. And very often, those cells turn into cancer. What we can do is enhance your immune function and enhance the cell that needs to die, enhance its ability to self-die. It's called autophagy, auto-killing, auto-eating. So we can take your immune system and make it go and remove that tissue, and we can also enhance that cell's desire to croak. But that was a great question. That means you were really paying attention. Good for you.
Now's the time to get a great deal on select Kubota equipment. As the #1 selling compact tractor in the U.S., they offer the versatility and reliability to get the job done right all year round. Right now, bring home select Kubota equipment with 0% financing available or save up to $4,000.
Products you can count on, a name you can trust. That's Midstate Tractor and Equipment.